Hey everyone, welcome to Cely and Los Out of Frame. I'm Cely.
And I'm Los, and this is our couch.
It has cat hair on it, definitely a stray Lego or two somewhere, and about 13 years of us watching everything together and never once running out of things to say.
Which is pretty impressive, especially for her, because she talks a lot.
Well, I'm the type when watching TV shows is I go deep. I'm in the Reddit threads, I'm listening to the hour-long breakdowns. I like to build the case.
I'm more instinctual. I just watch, follow along, kind of build my own theories of what's happening, and 7 times out of 10, for the most part, correct, Every now and then I get it wrong, and she'll get me with that. But
no, but you are right a lot of the time. It's pretty cool to see it happen in real time.
I mean, that's 47 years of watching television. There you go.
We also have 7-year-old twin girls who participate in TV watching and movie watching in similar ways as we do. Currently, we've introduced them to Avatar: The Last Airbender. We can't wait to talk about that with you all later this year, but they're really into it and they have really good opinions.
So like, subscribe, and if you're down to just sit on the couch with us and watch a couple of shows with us and join our conversation, please feel free.
This is our first time attempting this. We've been wanting to record our conversations for years just because we get so into it. But, share with us, be patient with us, be kind to us, but share with us what shows you're watching, what you want us to talk about, and really how we can improve along the way to make sure that we're participating with you in the fandom. All right, so let's level set. We're starting this podcast with the series called From, which is streaming on the MGM Plus platform. If you've seen it, then you already know why we're here. Season 4 drops this Sunday. We just finished a full rewatch of season 1 through season 3, and we have notes.
Lots of notes.
Really more questions, right?
Definitely a lot more questions, yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So let me recap for you all where we are before we actually dive into all the theories and the questions that we have. If you're new here or just need a refresh, we'll do a quick run through. Not everything, just what we think might matter the most going into Sunday. All right, so a reminder on the rules of this town. Once you see the tree, that's it. You're locked into the town. You can't really leave, at least not in season 1. Once you arrive to the town, you realize there's monsters there that could unalive you. And in order to stay safe, you have to be inside before dark. There's talismans that can help protect the home or the space that you're in from those monsters. There's a sheriff holding it all together. His name is Boyd. There's Victor. He's older, but he's been there the longest since he was, I believe, like 8 years old. And he's the one that survived the longest. And in season 1, we end the season with the Matthews family who arrived at the beginning of the season, but at the end of season 1, Tabitha, who is the mom in the Matthews family, falling into a hole that she herself made in her home that takes them to the tunnels. And the tunnels is where the monsters live. I'd love to hear from you. What were the biggest moments in season 1 that really stuck with you?
Season 1, what really stuck with me was definitely the communication that Jim received on the radio. Mm-hmm. First off, that they received any communication from outside of the village itself. Throughout the season, they've determined that they're isolated. There's no escape. There's no way out. It's just either death or stay there and just survive by any means necessary. So getting that outside communication and the message that he got that, his wife shouldn't be digging that hole. And then immediately after her falling into the tunnel where Victor is there waiting for her and guides her out. That's just part of the allure, the intrigue, the mystery of what is this village, what it is from. And, ultimately, great season, great opening season, really to reel you in and get you
locked in.
Yeah. And questioning what's happening. And season 1 does a great job of just putting out thousands of questions on, what's happening there? Where's everybody coming from? All the people from different places there. Where's their food coming from? Where's, it's just
Where's the electricity coming from? Where's the plumbing coming from? Yeah, lots of questions. And I would say that one thing that we feel through the whole first season is that each of the characters in their own way are accepting what they need to do in order to survive. And questioning still is a part of it, right? The Matthews family is doing a lot of the questioning, Jade is doing a lot of the questioning, but the remaining characters, it's more about survival and being able to adapt. All right, so let's jump into season 2, a quick recap there. Season 2 is where the mythology of this world starts to show up. It starts to bleed through. There's writings on the walls of the tunnels that tie to the visions that Jade has been having. It doesn't seem like the tunnels necessarily are a way out, but rather are a big ecosystem for the monsters. We also start to see
different monsters.
Yes, different monsters. In this season, this is where the Boyd goes into the tent, right? And then with Sarah.
Boyd and Sarah take off on a excursion adventure. And they get taken from their campsite and dragged through the forest and end up in a different place surrounded by cobwebs and of some monster. We don't know what it is. And, you start figuring out that there's levels to the monsters and what's happening in this village, in this area. So it's like how Cely was saying, it's an evolving, changing location, and it's almost like a living being. That's what From feels like.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we start to move from just a place to, I love how you just framed that, a living being, like an organism that will react to what's happening in the space, right? So as Boyd and Sarah start to push through and push into the forest, then a new monster is unlocked. We see Boyd enter into one of the faraway trees that takes him to a dungeon where we find the Martin character, which we're not sure if he was a previous villager or if he was just another entity trying to manipulate Boyd.
And to correct actually that happened at the end of season 1, was it? When that happened?
Yeah, wait, you're totally right. Because Boyd starts to hallucinate, and that's when he's coming back.
So he's shaking, episode 10.
Yeah. This is when, towards the end of season 1 is when the bus arrives.
The bus arrives, yeah.
Yeah. And that starts to shift the dynamics of the place as well. Like everything is happening all at once.
Yes, the house collapses. Boyd and Sarah come back from the forest. Sarah obviously goes into the faraway tree and back in the basement of the church, and Boyd goes into that dungeon and he's in that dungeon. We don't see him again until season 2, the beginning of season 2, when he makes his way out. So at the end of season 1, that's what happened.
Yeah. And then we meet in season 2, in the beginning of season 2, we meet the Elgin character, which starts to add more layers to the story and the way that he interacts with different monsters. Then from there, we start in season 2 is when we start to see multiple different monsters, right? We see the ballerina in the music box, the worms under Boyd's skin.
That he gets from Martin?
Yes, he gets from Martin. Also, Smiley is killed in season 2.
Yes.
Which we didn't think was possible before. And there's a ton of changes just being felt throughout the village, right? The trees moving.
The trees are shifting,
The weather is changing. The place is reacting to all of the villagers pushing. It's particularly Boyd and Tabitha pushing the boundaries of what they can do in this place.
Exactly. End of season 2, Tabitha goes into the faraway tree and ends up at the tower where the Nkui have basically guided her to that. And she climbs up to the top and she gets pushed out by the boy in white. And she ends up in Cambridge, Massachusetts?
Camden, Maine.
Camden, Maine. And that's where it leaves off. So she actually leaves the village, the only person that we know as of right now that has left the village, and which I have an interesting theory later on we can discuss. But then beginning season 3.
Yep. So yeah, thank you for reframing that. So season 3, it's like experiencing the world outside with Tabitha and her interaction with Henry Kavanaugh, which we find is Victor's dad. He starts to break down for Tabitha who Miranda is, the visions that she had before, and then we start to see some of the paintings that are part of the opening sequence. from there, they ultimately end up back in the town. Henry finally is reunited with Victor. So then that's season 3. As we start to move through, we meet Kimono Lady in season 3, right?
Yeah,
I think.
we meet Kimono Lady with Elgin, and I forgot her name. She got pregnant.
Oh, Fatima. Fatima is pregnant.
As Tabitha and Jade and Boyd are pushing the boundaries to discover, really trying to nail down what's going on, pushing back on the village, on the place where they're at. You start seeing the village react to them more aggressively. Newer monsters, more psychological attacks on them.
Hallucinations.
Hallucinations.
Yes.
I can say that word. Hallucinations from, from various villagers, and it's
Yeah. No worries. I mean, one thing that I think was also interesting is in season 3 we start to expand outside of just the village, right? Jim finds the cabins. How did that? Jim finds the cabins with Kenny and they find vegetables.
yes.
Right. Oh my goodness. This reminds me of what happened right after they come back, which was really, really sad. So yes, when we get to the cabins, we find that there's these like weird statue things and you start to realize
Stick figures.
yeah, like stick figure things that definitely are creepy. And you hear like another type of monster just walking around. Sounds like a heavy step or something. It definitely sounds different from like the standard nighttime creatures. So there's clearly a bigger world out there with the creatures that we just don't know about. The cabins look a lot older than the town, but they were clearly inhabited at some point in time. And there are fresh crops near a lake. The lake, I think, definitely keyed me into like it could play an interesting role down the line.
Linking back to what
the Lake of Tears, from episode 1.
The story that Ethan.
Yes, from the Chromonocle. I do think that the Chromonocle like quest, a lot of the things that Ethan has been talking about when it comes to the Chromonocle will play out somehow in the village as well. But yeah, so we're introduced to this cabin world. At some point, some villagers lived there. We don't know what happened to them. Were they always operating separately from the main village? Or was it really just like a much older established village that eventually moved to what we know as now the From Village? Then from there, we start to understand, right, that the From Village, the From wherever they are, that world starts to react a lot more aggressively towards Boyd because Boyd is pushing back. They're trying to break him.
Yeah, and they say the cowboy monster when they trap him, and
we'll share what happened there with the livestock.
Well, I mean, if you're watching this channel, you know kind of what's happening. So, that's when the monsters let out the livestock. I guess this is also the producers giving us some info on how these people are surviving and being fed. Because, it's kind of like there's a village in the middle of nowhere and there's just monsters and they kill everything. But somehow these people have been living there for years. Victor's been living there for 40 years, and he's relatively healthy. So he's eating food. Where's the food coming from? So I think this is the producers kind of giving us a tidbit like, hey, like there's food available out there for them. They just have to go search for it. So appreciate that, producers. By the way, speaking of producers, one of the really key things and cool things about this show is that some of the producers from Lost, if you remember Lost, from the mid 2000s to from the mid 2000s, was an amazing series. Started off amazing series, wonderful casting, great story, but it lost its way. Tons of mysteries, everything. It lost its way. And so them coming with this experience, also coming with Harold
Perrineau.
Perrineau. Is it Perrineau?
Yes, okay, Harold Perrineau.
Coming with Harold Perrineau, bringing him over from Lost as well. It's some continuity with that, and also with the mystery factor, the clues being dropped in episodes, and whether it's in the background or the opening sequence or books that characters might be reading or drawings that you might see. There's so many different Easter eggs that are laid out throughout each episode that, as our channel grows and as we get better at this, we'll hopefully pick up, dive into that a little bit. And we'll see how that goes. So anyway, I just wanted to add that into it. But going back to what we were originally talking about with Lee
the
Chen.
Livestock.
Yeah, so the monsters let out the livestock to try to trap Boyd. They trapped Boyd, and I forgot the character's Miss Chen.
Tian Chen.
Miss with Tian Shen in the barn, and they force him to watch as they mutilate her. Unfortunately, R.I.P. Tian Shen.
Yeah.
Horrible. And they tell him straight to his face, "We're going to break you. They're out to break him." So it's going to come down to him. Boyd is the standout character, moral high ground character in this show. And as season 3 progresses, you start seeing cracks in the armor, in his thoughts, and not only with you have what happens at the end of the season where he has that confrontation with Elgin and him breaking rules, his own rules. You also have the fact that he's covering for. Sorry, I forgot her name again.
Sarah?
No. Well,
Fatima?
For Fatima.
Oh, yeah, he's trying to look out for her.
Yeah, and so.
Yeah, I think what all of those scenes, at least if we go back to the livestock scene, what that starts to show is that there is choice, even though these monsters are rule bound, right? Like they don't come out in the daytime. They walk for some reason instead of run. They come out dressed to feel more approachable to the villagers for some reason. It does feel like there is still choice because they're tearing them apart for, I don't know why. They're not really eating them, it doesn't seem like. Maybe they're consuming their blood, but for sure, there's restraint. They're not destroying them completely. Like we saw for Randall, right? They like ripped him.
Give him a Glasgow smile.
Yeah, exactly. And with Tian Shen, they took their time and then they made Boyd watch, and they didn't necessarily hurt Boyd. I think they scratched up his shoulder. So there's restraint there. There's choice. Is it directed by them or is there like a higher force directing them? I don't know. But after Tian Shen, the entities are starting to step up their game with the psychological warfare. They're starting to
invade their dreams, potentially killing them in their dreams. Got the locust, their
cicadas,
especially tormenting
Randall.
You also have the phone calls, like you mentioned, of Thomas, the voice of Thomas calling the Matthews house and talking to Ethan, talking to Jim. And obviously those spirits or those voices are there to screw with them, mess with them. But we'll continue finishing up season 3.
Yep. From there, we also see that everybody is trying to play, not everybody, but like the key characters are trying to play a more intentional role to push the boundaries. Sarah is being an active player, Elgin as well, Boyd, Victor's going into the tunnels, he's trying to get answers, Jade is starting to work on a bottle tree. So like the main characters collectively in season 3 just start to push the boundaries more and more and more to try to get answers. One big thing I think that stood out to me as well is in season 3, Jade comes to the conclusion after discussions with Tabitha that a few of the individuals there like never had a choice. They were always going to end up in that town because there were dreams that they had. Miranda had dreams that led her to that town. Tabitha had dreams that led her to that town. And ultimately, they realize that they're all there for a reason. Season 3 ends at the bottle tree, right? Or near, in the vicinity of the bottle tree. You want to talk about what happens at the end of season 3 that really kind of sets the stage?
Yeah, that's when you start to, as season 3 progressed, you're getting hints that you feel like Tabitha's having visions of Miranda, and it's treated like visions. But as the season progresses, it starts to realize that it's more than visions. And
like memories.
And as they close out the season and Jade plays the violin and they play the musical chords based off the 12 notes and all the pieces of paper that were in the bottle, the Ankui come out and Tabitha and Jade start to remember, and you come to the realization that it's not oh my God, I'm sorry. You come to the realization that it's not delusions. No, that is
they're not visions, but rather like lived experiences.
Let me finish that.
Yeah.
You come to the conclusion that it's not visions, that it's actually a lived experience, that it's memories, that they are reacquiring, relearning while they're there, that they've been here before. From Tabitha having dreams as a child, being there near the red rocks, as when they're in the cellar with Victor, and she's hugging Victor, and she remembers being Miranda and hugging Victor and his sister Eloise and leaving them there, and finally at the end, when one of the children, the Nkui children, comes up and gives her, and I think hugs her, or she just stands in front of her, and that's when she remembers that her and Jade, they were there in a previous life, and that one of the Nkuis was their kid. And so
That was so heartbreaking when you saw that.
yeah, so it's the layers of complexity that they've brought into the show. It's pretty amazing, and it's slowly. I love the slow burn. We're not getting everything quick. It's just slowly we're getting a little bit more and more and more. And obviously, every episode 10 of every season's been a highlight. You know, that's when you're getting a good amount of information, and the way they're delivering it is either
the emotional notes they
heartbreaking,
land them.
and speaking of heartbreaking, Victor's character is absolutely amazing. The end, and the actor is doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, he deserves all the awards. I mean, you'll hear us say this in probably, like, you'll hear us say this multiple times through season 4, just because we absolutely have enjoyed the delivery of the actor for Victor. Like, he's just been fantastic emotionally, how he lives in his character.
What's his name?
I don't know. We should know that. Well, actually, before we do that, I want to talk about how we feel about the season, like as a whole, emotionally, what we loved about it and what we're excited about. But let's actually cover where each of the characters are by the end of season 3. You talked about Jade and Tabitha. Let's talk about Victor since we were just on him. We leave Victor with his dad at the gravesite of Miranda and Eloise, and they have a moment. Victor is also starting to push back on the place, I think, in ways that maybe he hasn't before, and the boy in white has communicated with him towards the end of season 3 again, and sharing with him that you know, the place is changing, that he is changing. We also leave Julie at the end of season 3, who by that point has done what Ethan has called story walking, where she's gone back in time to seemingly impact moments in that time.
Key moment being when she dropped the rope for Boyd when he was stuck at the bottom of the well in the dungeon with Martin. And, you know, as you know, it's one of those things that you, as season 2 was progressed and you meet Martin and you see him locked, you know, chained up against the wall. It's like, how did somebody drop a rope to Boyd? And then you come to discover that it was actually Julie. It was Julie all along. Story walking or time traveling or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then helping in that situation. So pretty, and then at the end of season 3, right at the end, you see Julie coming back and she looks different. She looks a little bit older. Well, she's purposely dressed to look older and
she's got a haircut.
Yeah, so you can tell it's a different timeline than what they're currently, where they currently are.
And she's coming in flustered too, right? It seems as if she's been trying to jump between a few different, I guess, stories or points in times to find her dad, because finally when she does, you hear her exasperation, and she even says like, okay, this has to be the right place or something along those lines. So clearly she's been looking for him with the intention of trying to save him, and this seems to be like the first time that she finally gets to the point of seeing him through this skill that maybe she's beginning to master, being able to travel backwards in time. And then at the end of that, unfortunately, Jim is unalived, and we don't know what that means for season 4, but then
we meet
the man in yellow.
The man in yellow, who is also the voice from the season 1 radio communication. And so we're ready for season 4 to start unraveling and answering many of the mysteries and questions that have come from the first 3 seasons. And I think we're going to talk about some of the theories that we have.
Well, actually, before jumping into the theories, can we just like quickly recap just the feeling of the show? What you loved about it? What about it feels special to you? I can share like what I love about this show, honestly, is that it's clear that the writers, the producers are being really intentional about how they deliver the story. They're thoughtful about the pacing. They're not rushing through things. They're really making the characters feel fully developed, so that even in the scenarios where like Khatri shows up, he actually feels like a true spirit, or like his soul is tied to the place, because it feels like him talking to Boyd, the way that they would banter. The writers did a really great job of just building out the type, like the character that Khatri was and the relationship that he had with Boyd. In a short period of time, these writers, I think, have been able to accomplish incredible things. They've given so much texture to the place. They've been deliberate about creating moments that land emotionally, right? Which is why I think it's really It's been a really cool experience to watch Victor's character because they've given that space for him to land those moments emotionally.
And the actor's name is Tim McCord.
Yeah, big shout outs to Tim McCord. He is fantastic. But yeah, I think it's not just the mystery of the place and like all the questions that come up, but the way the writers have thoughtfully considered how the fans should consume the story. I think that's what I've loved the most about this series. Anything else that stands out to you about what you've enjoyed?
You said the journey. I think the journey, the slow burn that is learning about, well, the slow burn that is learning the characters, the evolution of other characters, the getting to know them, understanding their, their what's driving them, and also just when you get into a good mystery, trying understanding why things are happening. And I think that's what's really keeping us there, keeping I think most of the fans there. It's just a really excellent mystery. What's happening, little Easter eggs everywhere. It's been a truly fun watch.
Yeah, it really has. All right, so with that, let's jump into the theories. So some of these I think are in the fandom. I've seen some of them on Reddit and others just kind of our own personal like observations. One theory I've locked into is that Boyd does not have a reincarnation, that he is new to this universe and that he is considered to be the cycle breaker, which is why the From village, the world that they're in, is fighting so hard to break him. What do you think about that theory?
I think obviously he's the most important character as the story has progressed to this point. Do I think he will remain as the most important character? Well, it's time will tell. I think Julie is really coming into a heightened position as somebody who can story walk time travel in this world. I think her influence and the events of what's going to happen with her, I think she's going to be a major character moving forward. She's been secondary in many ways right now, behind Tabitha, Jade, and Boyd, a secondary auxiliary character. And I think now, with her ability that she has and the way it's laying out for her, I think she's going to be a real key in discovering and unlocking this place and potentially getting everybody home.
Ooh, okay. So your theory is that yeah, Boyd is special, but actually Julie is the most special, and she's going to be potentially the one, what I'm calling the quote unquote cycle breaker.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That'll be interesting. You usually like land on theories that I don't agree with always, but then somehow end up being true. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. All right. The next theory is around Victor. Victor has protection. He's not survived the past 30 years by pure luck.
Completely agree. Victor was unfortunately left there at an age of like 8, 9 years old and has survived there for 30, 40 years and come to the point where that is his home.
Yeah.
He hasn't known any other place longer than he's known the village. And I think that's one of the key discussions that happened that was it Henry and Jade were having.
Yeah.
And Jade, was it Jade that points out too?
Yeah, Jade. Yeah. Oh, he made the Tarzan comment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, where Jade, well, Henry is coming to Jade almost like seeking advice, and Jade, in a very Jade way, just cuts through the BS and he says to Henry, like, you are trying to fix him. Victor is not broken. It's like Victor's like Tarzan, where he's been able to adapt to a totally new environment, and you're making him feel like an a-hole for not knowing how to use a fork. And that was a big revelation, I think, for Henry. So yeah, there is something special about Victor's adaptability. And at first I thought it was because he was a child, but then I remembered like in the first one
episode, they
lost a child. Yeah, one of the monsters attack a child. And then Ethan also gets targeted.
Yeah.
So what is it really about Victor?
Yeah, I mean, also going on to being protected. When Victor's in the tunnels with his dad, Henry, and one of the really beautiful, decadent
one of my favorite monsters, by the way. Well, like, she just is such a fancy-looking lady.
What does she say? She says to him, Victor, if you keep coming down here, we might just have to keep you one of these days. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And, it's
creepy.
So they know that he comes down there, but they've never taken him. They've never grabbed him or anything. They leave him alone. So what about him has him protected in this land? Could it be that, I don't know, he's I mean, he's Miranda's kid, so he's Miranda's kid, just like Ethan.
Wait, do you think he's an Nkui reincarnated?
I don't know.
We haven't seen him have a connection with any of the Nkui kids.
No, the only being that he has a connection with that isn't actually alive, touchable person is the boy in white.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, so if you wanted to go down that path, another Nkui could be Julie and Ethan, because they are Tabitha's kids, and if you're thinking about it thinking about it like
based on the connection
and like almost family tree kind of thing, they all kind of fall under the
reincarnation. Yeah, the Miranda.
Yeah, and the reincarnation theory that happening there. So.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Okay, this one I haven't seen on the Reddits. Maybe it's there. Definitely add it in the comments if you've landed to a similar conclusion.
Or if you've noticed some very particular person that's in the village that seems to always have a talking role, doesn't really do much of anything else, but she just pops up randomly.
Yeah, like in the beginning, we're talking about the colony house villager. We forget her name. She wears the blue shirt
and a bandana, and she's the one that had the glass
into her eye.
Into her eye.
Yeah.
She pops up every season.
Every season. In like pivotal moments, it seems like too, right? Where like Jade takes her bike in the beginning. She stands out there. When there's like a big speech, she's around or she makes some comment.
Like no other background villager gets as much attention as she does.
Yeah.
And she just pops up randomly. It just puts a finger on her to be like, what's up with her? Like, is she an infiltrator?
Ooh, is she a spy?
Is she a spy for
Yeah, she seems quite innocent. Like
there's,
what is her role?
Yeah.
So I do think for season 4, we might see a little bit more happen there. The writers just are way too intentional. The details seem way...
So just throw her in and not have us, or not...
To just have her be a throwaway character.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so. All right, let's talk about the monster hierarchy. Is there a structure?
I think there is. Obviously, is. When there's the one episode. Oh, when Martin is that what Martin says?
It was Martin
says to Boyd that the monsters in the village are just the tip of the spear. That there's way worse things out there. And as we saw at the end of season 3, the man in yellow.
Yeah,
he seems to be one of the top dogs.
Yeah, making the decisions. So if we lay out kind of the hierarchy, the pyramid, right? The foot soldiers are those nighttime creatures. They seem to be rule bound. They're a little bit more predictable, and they can be stopped by the talisman. Then the next layer up is like the mental
warfare that's going on. That's the ballerina, the music box. I don't know if they're monsters per se, but it's just like something about
the impact that they can have in inducing fear.
Yeah. The hallucinations.
The hallucination, the visions.
I'm going to be able to say that word at some point. The cicadas.
The kimono lady. The voices in Sarah's head.
Mm-hmm.
Like
all of that.
The laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that seems to be more like the next layer up.
Yep. And then so I forget whatever is out in the forest. The
spiders.
Spider or whatever it was that dragged Boyd and Sarah and laid them out in that field of cobwebs. And then obviously the man in yellow. So.
The man in yellow he seems to be like he's at the top. He operates it. He seems to have strategy. He also, like at first he seems to have just like all black eyes, but eventually right at the end you can see he has some whites in his eyes. So like it's unclear, is he one of the monsters with a lot more control? Is he more human-like? Was he there from the beginning? He just seems to be more in control. So he definitely, he seems to be at the top of kind of that pyramid. And then another force that we've talked about briefly is the boy in white. Is he truly a counter force? I don't know that I fully trust him yet. I do think he's more good than evil, but...
I mean, I think the fact that we come to hear him tell Victor that he was trying to help, and he told Christopher,
yeah.
The puppeteer, the man with, what was the name of the puppet?
Jasper.
With Jasper, how to help. He tried to get Christopher to help to get everybody out. But then he didn't do it. He didn't act. And
it seems like he's tried a few times.
And now he just seems like hands off, like, all right, like you guys got to learn. So what does that mean? How was he implementing that? Is he just going to let the village burn? So it's Yeah, I think he's falling more into a neutral role, but still isn't willing to just sacrifice, for example, Victor or some of his key people that he is looking out for. But yeah.
Yeah. And do we think that there is a similar hierarchy on the good side, like a good entity, like somebody actually looking out? As of now, the boy in white seems to be like the only good entity, but perhaps there's more. Maybe the monsters that were walking around in the cabin, around the cabins, actually were the ones that planted all of the vegetables and are helping the villagers,
Could be.
be fed. So who knows? But I do think we'll learn more about that
That's
in
a
season
really
4.
interesting one. I kind of like that. So yin and yang type of thing. There's the good monsters in there. Could that at nighttime potentially they're out there while the other ones are terrorizing. They're out there planting crops or something. I don't know. It's does it fit the From world? Yet to be seen. But
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
It gives me something warm and fuzzy to hold on to.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in season 4. One other theory that I'd love to talk about is how time works. So we obviously see Julie able to travel back in time. We understand that there are like years, or what seem to be years, listed in the bottles. The Civil War vision that comes up is from like the 1800s. So how do you think, what's your theory around how time works?
Well, first off, with the bottles, I don't think it was years. It was
Notes.
musical notes.
Yeah.
Musical notes. But yes, definitely, like, how long has this village existed? How long have people been potentially trapped there? You have Civil War soldiers, visions that Jade had. Then you have Julie coming back from some future time. How far in the future? How long until we get to that point? Will season 4 pick up or start off more of a flash forward and then bring us back into the current where we currently are? So it is a really interesting dynamic, and to see how they're going to evolve this position.
Yeah, yeah, and is time one to one? I kind of think yes, like the way that time works in the real world is how time works in From, essentially how it progresses chronologically, because I think Tabitha was gone for 2 to 3 days, and that is about the same, I think, than what they said that she was gone, and how Julie and Jim interpreted it in the From village. So I think my theory is that yes, time works chronologically in the same way and the same pace, the same seconds, the same minutes, hours, but obviously they can manipulate time. And so could that mean that they can also, like, they can travel through time? Julie can, at least. So could that mean that they can also impact events of a time in a way that's different?
So one thing was when Tabitha came back into the real world, was she purposely sent back here to bring Henry back, or was it just to learn about Miranda?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe both. Obviously, when she traveled through the faraway tree, she had Victor's lunchbox, which had his address. So one question there is like, were those coordinates that helped her get to Camden? And if they was there a force pulling her back and also intentionally bringing Henry back, given his connection to Miranda? I don't know. That's a good question. You had a theory from earlier, like in the beginning of our discussion, that you said you wanted to bring back. I don't know if you remember it.
Well, okay, so I'm kind of talking myself out of it. It's the theory of Elgin being a reincarnated somebody that's come back to the village, because he has a connection. He felt he was having visions of the village before he arrived, and he knew that the bus needed to turn around before he got to it. With manipulation from the kimono lady, he brought about bringing back Smiley. So it makes me, was he manipulated? Was he easily manipulated into this? Sarah had voices as well,
Right.
So it's kind of like, how.
Or has Elgin always played this role in each cycle?
Yeah. So it's kind of what, I don't know if he's here to help or what's his purpose here. Because right now it seems like more of a hindrance to the villagers to get out. Obviously, he's thinking he's doing the right thing. Also, there's one thing I think we touched on when we've had discussions, is that Elgin's missing an eye. Similar to the vision that Jade had when he was out at the Red Rocks.
Yeah, that's right.
So
he could be then a reincarnation. Like, that seems like the most obvious reincarnation for him, but maybe that's a coincidence. But is it positive? Because that reincarnation, or not reincarnation, rather, that vision that Jade has, the guy is drinking out of a skull with blood, signaling something to like a ritual. right? So then, oh, interesting. So then maybe you're right. Elgin, his reincarnation actually is not there to help, there to keep everything status quo.
Potentially, yeah. And now with him having his eyes stabbed out, everything that's happened to him, how is he going to come back in season 4? What's going to be his role to play? How will he be viewed by the villagers? I mean, what's going to be his motivation to help anyone?
Yeah.
Granted, he did a wrong, but he felt he was doing something right.
Yeah.
But then he gets violated and, tortured by
Yeah.
Sarah and Boyd. And
he loses his eye.
so, I don't
That's an
it's
interesting
just,
one. Ooh, okay. I don't know that I've seen that one on the Reddits, but please definitely comment if you have and what others are saying. All right, so let's start to wrap up. Let's talk about season 4 predictions. What are you thinking we'll start to see evolve and open up in season 4 on Sunday?
Answers to questions. Answers
That's
to
the
mysteries.
hope.
Yeah, that's the hope. What do I expect? I expect us to find out that, actually, I think I've laid out a good amount of season 4 kind of predictions or theories in our previous sections, but definitely along the lines of, I believe they're going to go, I do believe that they might flash forward in some episodes and bring it back to where they currently are, where we just lost Jim. You have Tabitha and Jade discovering that they were villagers there that sacrificed their kids, that sacrificed children to live eternally, and that they actually had a child there. So, are they now? We're going to go forward. We're going to go forward, and we're going to come back to this time period because Julie's going to try to save people and save her father,
Yeah. So I think I could see that happening in season 4, an expansion more of what story walking actually is. I wonder, do you have ideas of who will lose in season 4?
Ellis. I think we'll lose Ellis.
We'll lose Ellis, which honestly is me. But yes, I do think we might lose Ellis in an attempt to continue to break Boyd.
And they better not hurt Kenny.
I know. Oh,
Kenny's gone through too much, I swear.
keep Kenny, please. Yeah.
Please keep Kenny.
I think we could see, so in season 4, what we've started to see is that they're targeting really important pillars of the community, right? Boyd, they targeted Tian Chen, who was the one that fed the community. They target Boyd, who keeps the community safe. They target Christy's significant other. Christy keeps the community healthy. And Donna, she's the heart, right? She hasn't really been targeted per se.
Don't tell me you think Donna might go.
I think what I could see happen, I don't think they'll full on unalive Donna, but I could see her being broken and something happening to her that really shifts the direction of the show. It has to, because she is important to the show. And so far, we start to see cracks in her armor, if that's the right phrase, but it hasn't been something directly happening to her. So I could see that happening in season 4. All right, so let's wrap up. This has been super, super fun to talk about here with you all. We absolutely could have covered much more. We jumped around. We probably got some things wrong along the way. We appreciate your patience.
Yeah, we both have ADHD, so it's kind of, our conversations tend to jump
All over the
everywhere.
place.
But we'll try to keep that at a minimum
Yeah.
when we can.
But then I think cool theories can come out of it. So hopefully you'll follow along and participate with us in this discussion. If you made it this far, then that means you're one of us, right? This is exactly the kind of conversation we plan to have every week. We'll try to keep it a little bit more organized going forward.
And I think it'll be a little bit more organized because it's just one episode at a time instead of we're trying to recap three seasons.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Lots of questions, lots of theories.
Not just like a recap or summary, like actual conversations, which I think for us is what makes it super fun. Hit subscribe, turn on all the notifications. We'll post the summary recap discussion for episode 1 on Monday after the episode airs.
Ahead of Sunday, let us know what your theories are and what you think was going to happen in season 4. Definitely like and subscribe, comment. Your comments are going to be really useful for us. This is a process
learning.
that we're learning. This is our first dive into anything content, social media content related. We just figured, it'd be kind of fun to just dive in and see where this goes, learn a little bit, learn a new skill.
And do it together.
Yeah.
So I'm Cely.
I'm Los.
And we'll see you out of frame.